So there's been some emails floating around. This is the Bear Grease Render podcast. The Bear Grease Render
I've heard of that.
is where we gather up a group of people, and I'm going to introduce some esteemed guests in just a minute, but I feel like this is pertinent right now. There's been some emails floating around from the powers that be.
Mean-spirited emails or?
Well, no.
Okay.
Just business emails from MeatEater.
Okay.
Of the render was never videoed. None of this was ever videoed, but we've been born into a time where things rapidly move. So all of a sudden we needed video, and which is great. So we film here in my office. This is the global headquarters. At one time it was the global headquarters of Bear Hunting Magazine. Now it's the global headquarters of Bear Grease, also been called MeatEater South. And there's been a couple of little clues popping around in different places in my life about this office and the way it looked. The first clue was there was an article that was written that was about me in Farm Bureau magazine and insurance companies like magazine, and this guy came here and interviewed me, and we had just a great time. I loved the guy. The first paragraph of his introduction to me is he basically says
in 3 different ways.
He says, I'm standing in Clay Newcomb's cluttered office, which is like the man's mind. I think he was trying to pay me a compliment, but I was just like...
Sounds a little backhanded.
I was like, cluttered. And I was like, this office looks exactly the way I want it to, okay? We're getting to what you now miss because... the office has been a little decluttered. Well, it's not long after that article came out.
You're welcome, Farm Bureau.
Not long after that article came out, the powers that be at MeatEater may or may not have said, the office looks a little cluttered. To which, in my heart, I replied, the office looks exactly the way Clay wants it to.
I believe the words that I uttered for you were that Clay has the office exactly the way.
Yes. And... it was beautiful, Pablo. It was perfect.
I know.
It was like a museum. And here's some of the things that we cleaned up.
Like a small town museum.
Yeah, and you'll no longer get to see this anymore.
Like if your hoarder great-grandma had a museum.
This deer horn was once on display right up there.
Yep.
Okay, and there was an episode that we did a few episodes back called The Bird Hunter. And it was the story of Lewin Newcomb. And at the end of the story, I told about the last hunt that me and Lewin Newcomb, my grandfather, went on together. And I picked up this shed horn while we were hunting. And I showed it to him, and I just wrote on it that, soon after that day, I wrote Clay and Paps Newcomb, Bird Hunt 2002. I didn't know that would be the last time I'd hunt with him, but it was. So that's what you're missing. You missed it, Pablo.
That's a shame.
Okay, that's one thing you'd miss.
Yeah.
The other thing that you'd miss was at one time I had my collection of baculums right up there in the corner. This is not all the baculums that I've collected, but this is a lot of them. There are raccoon baculums, and I have a raccoon baculum that ought to be.
I know what it is.
I have a raccoon. I have a raccoon baculum that ought to be in the Smithsonian. Look at that! It was broken and re-healed. Do you see that?
Yeah. Now I know what it is.
Nature finds a way.
See, look, that's the way a normal raccoon baculum looks. That one has been broken and healed. Like a collarbone that wasn't set right.
And a baculum is?
A baculum, you have to look that one up, what it is.
Yeah.
But it's a bone. And these are black bears.
No kidding.
Yeah, these are black bear bones. 2 of these came from Roy Clark in East Tennessee. First time I hunted with Roy Clark, one of the Bear Grease Hall of Famers, plot man in East Tennessee. We killed 2 boars in 2 days. And right before I left, he had been whittling on two baculums, and he gave them to me. This one came out of the Boone and Crockett bear that I killed. There's a correlation between baculum size and skull size, I'd say. But that's what they're missing, the people. because I had to declutter my office.
Couple
But
questions.
what is clutter to begin with?
Clutter?
Like, no, it doesn't even exist.
Exactly.
Hold on.
and then the other thing that you would miss is my stone point collection, which I'm very proud of. Most of these stone points I found in my yard, and turns out Pablo, who I'm going to introduce, is a big stone point man.
Oh man, it's awful. Yeah, once you get into it, it's over with.
Yeah.
But those are beautiful, and we're missing the display.
Yeah,
of them.
you would have seen them. I wouldn't have had to dug them out, and they're just all
Ziploc bag.
Look how sad they look in that Ziploc bag.
Yeah, no.
They do look sad.
Can you tell that that is a celebration of life? No. Because there's a lot of great stuff in there. I mean, I could show you all the points.
Right now, you look like a kid with a bag of marbles or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of these I found when I was a kid. This one right here, I have written on it Blue Bucket, Howard County. It's okay. There's nothing there to see. Y'all can all go there. I picked that up when I was a junior in high school after I'd shot my a spike buck with my bow. Was blood trailing the deer, and picked up. It's a broken fragment, and then this one, it's come off. But I found this stone point when I was trailing a hog when I was a junior in high school. I dug a big hole in the ground, poured some corn in the ground, skipped class, went.
What?
No trail cameras or anything.
Don't listen to this, kids.
But it was like a couple of days after I'd poured corn in this hole, and I had put it down in it was like a big river bottom, and there was a floodplain where the topography just dropped off, and so basically it's flat, and then there's like a 10-foot drop, and then it was flat again. I put the hole like right over the lip down in the second flat part, okay, and then I scratched out the leaves for about 30 yards back. I skipped school, slipped in there, walked on my leafless path, and popped up over the rise. And what would you guess happened? There was a giant hog with his head in that hole. And there's Clay with his bow, 17 years old, Matthews High Country Excalibur.
Does Gary know about this?
65 pounds. He told me I could go. I got permission.
Wow.
That's good.
Yeah. He told me I could skip school. And I draw back and shoot that sucker right in the shoulder, and he literally shrugs it off. The arrow falls out onto the ground, and the hog runs off. While I do my due diligence to try to find the hog, and he was not to be found, and I found that stone point. All these memories lost.
Yep.
All these memories resigned to a Ziploc bag.
Yeah. Welcome to the beargrease render, though.
Is that the first time you've ever been told that you are somewhat cluttered? Think smart.
I mean, I don't know if it's the first time. It's kind of like, what Gandalf said on Lord of the Rings. I hate to quote Lord of the Rings, but it's a great movie. When he said a wizard is never late, he arrives exactly when he wants to.
I think that there's been a lot of conversations
Very
in the
good.
Newcomb home about Clay's propensity towards clutter. And I have always received the same message. This looks exactly like I want it to look. This has been a topic of
It
conversation.
sounds like my wife going into my shop.
Well, listen, I recently read some interesting studies. I don't have much value
Does
to
this
add
benefit
to this
us
podcast,
or
but
hurt us?
I think it's interesting. I think it could help you have better, stronger marriages here.
If we were less cluttered,
Well, it might help. They actually did cortisol tests, like the stress hormone. They assessed this, and they found that clutter in a home actually does produce more stress on average in women than men.
what if we have designated spots where we can just keep our clutter?
Yeah, I've got no problem. It was fun though to watch Clay read that article, because it wasn't a total surprise to me that someone wrote that. And I think your office is beautiful, a great museum. I love to take people in it. But when Clay read it out loud, I could see his face just kind of drop. And he's like, what? And then he read, because it wasn't one time. It was in the first 3 sentences mentioned a couple times, different ways of saying it was cluttered or kind of haphazardly put together. And Clay was just astonished. It was a great article.
First time it ever entered my mind. But Michael Lewis says that the reason great writers are great is because they don't care about the reputation of the person they're writing about. Like if you wrote an article about yourself, Pablo, you would kind of you probably wouldn't do anything detrimental, but it also wouldn't be as interesting to the reader potentially. But if the guy that wrote the article about me wrote an article about you, he would like tell us the real stuff that we really want to know. That might be, and Michael Lewis says that's the key to writing. It's like he's like, hey, I'm going to interview, but I don't care about your reputation.
He's less concerned.
Pretty risky.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the Bear Grease Render. We have a very esteemed guest from the state of Alabama.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide.
We've got Pablo Esquivel.
Sweet. Yes.
From
like
Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys would know Pablo from the last Bear Grease podcast. And, man, thank you so much for coming to Arkansas, man.
No, man, it's my pleasure. It's an honor to be here with y'all. So I really appreciate this opportunity. It means a lot.
So we were walking down the road, and our neighbor, me and Pablo walked down the road to move the mules. I got the mules grazing out on some leads, and we met my neighbor, who within like
30 seconds
of meeting him, greeted him warmly in the way we do here, but then she was like, "Oh, I see you're an Alabama fan. I'm sorry."
Yeah. So I just politely reply, "It happens." He
said he became an Alabama fan in the Nick Saban era and got used to winning national titles,
right.
and then now.
Yeah, because here's the thing: when I came in, my stepdad was like, you got to pick up a team. Alabama.
Like in Alabama.
Yeah, it's like Alabama or Auburn. Which one you picking? And I was like, well, let me watch him playing. Within the first season, Alabama is mauling everybody on the SEC and winning. And I was like, it's no brainer. I said, Roll Tide. And and of course, I fell in love with the team, like every Alabamian does. And you have Nick Saban right there, so we're just winning championships left and right, and suddenly it's over, and I realized how spoiled I've been for the past 10 years, 12 years.
Now you feel like the rest of us.
And now I'm like, oh man, this is what Auburn fans feels like, I'm like,
Now, how long has Alabama not been like? Just for like 2 years, last 2 years have not been that good.
Yeah, I remember we lost a championship against LSU, against somebody up north that I can't even remember. And then the past 2 years, it's been kind of like a bone dry.
Okay,
and
I always thought it's interesting. Maybe I probably some of the states with smaller populations would understand this, but like in Arkansas, we have one high-level Division I school. So whether you're in the southeast corner of Arkansas, the northwest, anywhere you go, there's this unifying factor of you're a Razorback fan, like without question. Even though there's a lot of colleges here, there's smaller Division II and even lower-level Division I colleges here, but those guys are Razorback fans. I mean, like we're all Razorback fans. Go to Alabama, which Alabama has a lot more people than we have.
Out east, they do.
Mm-hmm. It's like 5 million, something like that, state-wise.
We've got about 3.
Okay, so just a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But still.
But you got to pick a team when you show up. When you get your card in Alabama, they're like, pick a team.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So you got to pick a team. Yeah, it's like, so who do you cheer for? And it's like, I don't know. And now, I'm die hard with Alabama. That's it.
Yeah, you can't.
No,
you can't be a fair weather friend.
No, I ain't doing it. So.
Yeah. Do you know the Roll Tide Willie guy? Have you ever heard that?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Eric, he's on social media. It's called Roll Tide Willie, and he's an Alabama fan, and he's Willie's probably like late 50s, 60 maybe, and the story is like a Cinderella story of social media influence. And I was sucked in from the beginning. And,
Yeah,
and there's
it's
a few qualms that I have. A lot of alcohol, which I'm not into as much alcohol as they promote on there.
Right.
I'll just say that at the beginning.
Yeah.
But basically, there was this guy that videoed Willie, who was just a guy in Alabama, barefoot, sitting in the front of this old Alabama gas station, and this guy pulls up and videos Willie, who's in like cutoff shorts, barefoot.
And I think they knew each other.
They knew each
Like, I
other,
think
but
he
I don't
knew
think
Willie.
there was a plan.
Yeah.
They knew each other, but I don't think there was a plan for them to be like become well known.
No, Willie was just a big fan, and he
was just this guy
pretty energetic.
in rural Alabama, and Chad goes, "Hey Willie, how about that game tomorrow?" And Willie just goes, "Oh, Alabama, we don't care about nothing but the Tide, roll Tide," and he starts stomping around and yelling, and the video goes viral. And long story short, like 3 years later, they have a pretty big social media presence, and it's pretty funny most of the time.
From redneck
It's
to
a little,
influencer.
yeah. I like those guys.
not too, but just kind of staying steady.
I'd have
plus.
Willie on bear grease if we could get him up here. So I've got to give credit where credit is due. I was listening to the Southern Outdoorsman podcast with Andrew and Jacob.
Yep.
And it was back a couple of months ago, and I just clicked on the episode that was up, and it had your name in the title, which it didn't register that would be significant. Just I remember seeing Pablo, which that's not a name you often see in hunting here in this country.
Yeah.
And I start listening to it, and pretty quickly Pablo starts telling his story, and I was just like, "This guy's hilarious." And you described it to me today, because everybody would have pretty much heard the stories that you told on that podcast. They pretty much heard on Bear Grease, just kind of like your life story. You started by saying, "Well, I was born in Costa Rica, and we, did all this stuff with slingshots and shooting birds," and you started telling your story, and then anyway, I just was like, we got to get this guy on Bear Grease.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. The opportunity with Andrew and Jacob, even though we live like within a couple at the most an hour and 20 minutes, they're like, "We got to do a podcast," and I was like, yeah. Man, it took like 2-3 years, timing wise, and that day we did it, and we done it that day. Jacob gave me a hat from Southern Outdoorsman. It's an orange hat. I was going hunting next day. He said, "Keep it up with you because that's the lucky hat." Well, I kind of like superstitious with this hat. My wife bought me an orange hat about 12 years ago on Walmart. It's the same hat. It's destroyed, but that's my lucky hat. That's the one that I wear. So I put the other one inside of my pack. I go hunting next morning. I kill the biggest buck that I ever killed in Alabama. That's 6:20 in the morning.
Wearing the Southern Outdoorsman hat?
No, I had it in my pack.
Okay.
You had it in the pack.
And wearing my lucky hat with the other lucky hat.
Double luck.
Yeah, and I texted them and I was like, "Buck down." They're like, "No way." And I said, "I swear to God." And I sent them a picture. They're like, "No way," So it was pretty cool. It was a pretty good kind of like a experience back to back. So and here we are.
And here we are.
And actually, before I forget, you just mentioned it.
Look at
That's
that.
the mightiest.
Look at that.
That's the mighty presentation. Okay, so this is a slingshot frame made out of a coffee plant, right?
Oh.
Coffee plant.
Yes. I did this thing when I was like 16 or 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
The tape is the one that it wasn't there when I cut it. So that tape has been there for like 19 or 20 years. And man, you feel how light it is?
Yeah.
Now try to squeeze that.
I'm afraid I'll break it.
Nah, it won't. it's semi-flexible,
Yeah.
but yet sturdy.
Sturdy.
That's what coffee it is for, you know.
So guys that are making slingshots where there's coffee plants, they know this is a good
Yeah,
plant.
yeah.
It's good wood.
Yeah, it is. It's very solid, very light, very solid, yet flexible enough
Nice.
for it. So,
So what would you put on the so if you haven't listened to the episode, Pablo, he made his I was going to say make his living, that would be metaphorical. They were slingshot masters. You said that guys could like shoot like 40 50 yards
40,
with
50
slingshots.
yards and
Wow.
hit an aluminum can
Oh,
with
wow.
rocks. Now, I wasn't one of them, but I have friends that they were unrealistically good. They just pure talent. Like, seriously, pure talent. I was good, but those guys were like beast.
You know, when you told me that story, it made me think about I do instinctive shooting and archery, and me and my son Bear are fixing to go to Alaska, and we're using these primitive self bows that he made himself, and you're shooting them instinctively, you know,
Just releasing.
and it's hard to be accurate, but I would imagine if ever since we were born, if that's the only thing that we could harvest meat with, and we'd shot bows our whole life, and there was that much at stake, we would be in a whole different category of archers.
Oh,
I mean, I just
absolutely.
think about like you guys, you told me, you know, you didn't have guns, you couldn't even shoot BB guns and all this stuff in Costa Rica. And I mean, these guys were just, I mean, every day.
That was it, pretty much.
Every day.
Yeah, you keep a bag of rocks, like the ones that you wanted. This is gonna sound crazy, but not all rocks are equal, right? Like I'm speaking maybe like on a molecular level. Some of them are denser than others. So the ones like the smallest one, the most round and heavier, those were the ones that you wanted. Like you will just walk the creeks, picking.
So you
which
cherry
ones-
pick your
yes.
rocks.
Oh yeah, and then man, you get very good consistency with them. You know, so I mean, you can throw anyone. It's not gonna fly the same way.
You know, that kind of makes sense. The story in the Bible of David killing Goliath. And, you know, there's like this spiritual component to it, but I've always thought about it from a natural sense as well, is that David, this shepherd boy, now he was using a sling, not necessarily a slingshot.
Yeah, just a sling.
It was like, there was no wood, but he had just like incredible confidence in his ability to just hit something about that big, you know, a head.
Yeah.
He knew what he was like.
And,
you guys.
and it says
And
he went and picked his stone.
That's what made me
Yeah.
think of it. That's
Yeah.
what he said. He picked his stones, so you guys were
knew.
vibing.
Yeah, he knew because here's the story with this one. I want to say I was 16 or 17. My little brother and my mom were in Costa Rica or about to depart back to the States, and it was for Christmas. I didn't have anything for my little brother, so I said, I know I'm going to make him a slingshot. So I went and handpicked this one, which, you know, this is the base of the coffee plant. Then this is going to split back again. She's just going to keep splitting until it's like a bush. So it was a younger plant because they can get massive. Anyways, picked this one up, and I was like, look, dude, what I got you. And he was like, what? Like, what is that? And my heart was broken. I was like, man, that's a perfect slingshot, man. Anyways, I was talking to him one of these days, and he's like, oh, man, let me show you something that I got. Now, you got to keep in mind, he's 23 now.
Okay.
And he goes and opens a couple cabinets and pulls some stuff that I gave him when he was a child, like a letter, you know, when we were apart, and I used to write him letters. Be like, man, you got to stay strong and this and that. And I was like, man, that's so cool. These letters dating back to like 07, 06. A big brother writing to a little brother, right? And then he's like, oh, look what I got too. And he pulled this out. I don't forgot about it.
Oh,
That one?
Yes.
so
this one.
you thought he didn't care anything about it?
No, I didn't even know where it was because I forgot. Like I said, this thing is like 20 years old. And I say, Indian giver. You know? Yeah. And I said, no, I'm keeping it. He was mad. And he's like, no, I'm going to call mom. And I said, call her. You know, so mom came, you know, and she's taking everybody's point of view. And I was like, mom, I cut it.
Oh,
And I
this
gave-
is like serious. This isn't a joke. Like
No,
he was
yeah.
really upset.
Yeah, and I was too, because I was like, how come that's been inside of that cabinet instead of being on display? You know. So my mom was like,
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Did you hear that, folks? If you're listening to this by audio, that's all the stone points that you're not seeing anymore.
there's no such a thing as cluttering.
That's
you
right.
know, it's always display and
Okay.
memories. Anyways, my mom is like, yeah, you know, y'all gonna have to settle it. And I said, let's flip a coin. And I said, let's flip a coin. And if you flip heads, I win. If I flip tails, I win. And he went for it. He wasn't paying attention. You know what I mean?
Oh, you said both ways you win.
Yeah, pretty much. He's like, okay. And we flipped.
Is he
and I-
just finding this out now?
No, he knew right away. And my mom was like, you should have done paid attention when he was talking. You know? Yeah.
Mom was like,
She was like, I'm not getting in between this, you know, and it came home with me. And it's on display on my
Right
room
where it
like this.
should be.
Yeah, just laying right there.
wow.
Yep. So crazy. I want to remove the tape, but at the same time, I just don't. You know,
Yeah.
like I said,
Yeah.
it's been here for so long.
Yeah,
that-
I wouldn't.
Oh, gee.
It looks like you put it on there yesterday.
yeah. And man, I mean, if you peel, you can see, look, you see
it's
how
starting.
easy,
Yeah, it'd
Look.
be easy to peel.
how easy she goes.
Yep.
It's just toasted, you know.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Now, Pablo, in Costa Rica, you said you worked on a coffee farm
Well,
for a little while.
yeah, that was usually like summertime, high school and school and all that stuff. You go to the coffee fields and
Okay.
work out there.
What do you
and-
do? You picking coffee?
Yes, picking coffee.
They're green beans.
Cherries.
No, red. You want the reddish and kind of like a no more than 50% green on the bean.
Okay.
So
Do
you can get
Did you have a sense of where that coffee was going that you were picking in Costa Rica?
no. I mean, you just get it and you imagine that this is kind of like for national consumption, if we can say it like that. But some of that coffee gets exported. And all
Is
that stuff.
coffee big in Costa Rica?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, and especially with the altitudes and all that stuff, you get these really rich, bold, like Arabic flavors. It's really good.
Why Arabic? Why Arabic?
I guess the seeds,
That they came from
maybe.
the
Yeah,
Middle East?
yeah. I have no idea if it has to do with a location kind of thing or with a strain.
Okay, I've got a little. I know you're not a coffee guy, but I'm going to bring this up because I've just
Yeah.
never around people that have been around coffee. So you're the closest
Yeah.
person to receive this.
No, I drink coffee every day.
Anywhere that they make coffee, they always make it sound like it's something special, just like a vineyard. Like
Yeah.
Right.
if you ever hear somebody talk about a vineyard, they're
Right.
like, "Oh, this is the nicest vineyard in Italy." And it scales though. It comes down to like, "This is the nicest vineyard in this county."
Yeah.
And then it scales
Right.
to, "This is the nicest vineyard in this neighborhood." I mean, like people kind of carry a chip on their shoulder. I feel like regions with coffee do the same thing.
Right.
Do you see,
Yeah.
you feeling me?
Now-
It's always the best of something.
I want to say I'm almost sure Brazil is the number one in quality. I mean quantity worldwide.
Okay.
But I want to say I'm almost positive that Costa Rica is the number one in quality.
Oh,
Really?
Okay.
Yes, I want to say that like a very expensive coffees.
Okay.
Wow.
We can double check this with Google.
Or you're confirming exactly what I'm saying.
Okay. I'm going to double check.
Yes,
I believe it.
Misty's gonna
I
fact
don't want
check.
anybody to fact check it.
No?
Just the rest of my
Okay.
life, I'm going to be like, Costa Rica's the best coffee in the world.
I was told firsthand.
My friend Pablo told me.
yeah, but at the end of the day, it's all about opinion because I could say it. The Razorbacks are the best college team in the world, you know. And even though they're not,
I don't think that can be quantified.
You can look that up on Wikipedia.
No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, so you told us about Costa Rica
Yeah.
to some degree in the podcast,
Mhm.
but not a lot. Like, so you lived in Costa Rica till you're 21 years old.
Yes.
Describe like the topography, the vegetation of Costa Rica. Like, how big is Costa Rica?
Well, Costa Rica is, I want to say this, I want to say we have to check this fact again, but I want to say this 51,000 square kilometers.
okay.
51,000 or 52,000 square kilometers.
How long does it take you to drive across the island?
Well, it's not an island. It's a country. Like it's dead on the middle of the continent. So Puerto Rico is an island. Costa Rica is not an island.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're traveling across the country, if it was a straight shot, probably like 3 hours.
51,000 square
Kilometers.
kilometers. So
Okay.
19,000 square miles. So it's tiny.
Yes, it's like
19,000 square
it's
miles.
Alabama's like 2.5 times bigger than
Okay.
Costa Rica, and they have the same population, so about 5-6
Okay,
million. So that
okay.
goes to show you there's more people per square mile than what we have here, right?
Okay. Okay.
But yet you have these vast areas of
Yeah.
no population, and that's due to the terrains, right? So you're going, like I said, if it was a straight shot, about 3 hours on a straight
Okay.
line.
Okay.
But you're going through all these different habitats with altitudes, increases and decreases, valleys, rivers, and all that stuff that the travel, some areas you're doing like,
It's mountainous,
40?
and they have you have a volcano, right?
yeah, there's like 7.
Volcanoes, like active volcanoes.
So
Yeah.
it's like rainforest though. It's
Okay,
the, it's
so
the tropics.
you're gonna go from dry Arizona looking like forest, to the rainforest, back down to maybe Louisiana, mugginess looking like swamps, to the Caribbean side, and back down to the jungle on the south end of the country. And then you cross into Panama. So and that's without talking about the volcanoes and the
Yeah.
hot springs and all that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, everything is
So it's like a
like I said, the place has 2% of the world diversity. Just on
biodiversity.
biodiversity. Yeah, on 19,000 square miles, 2% of the world biodiversity is located in there. So
Wow.
you can imagine that the flora and the fauna is going to be really rich.
what kind of big game? Are there any big game animals? I realize they're not hunting them there.
Yeah,
'Cause
there
that was part of his story is that there's no hunting in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's illegal.
Legal.
That doesn't mean that it's not. No, I'm
Okay.
just kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's some whitetail.
Whitetail deer?
Yes. Mhm.
Which would be invasive.
I guess. I don't know.
I mean, whitetails are
and there's
endemic to North
pigs,
America.
feral pigs, as you cannot run them off. They're going to
Oh,
be
really?
everywhere. Yeah. and
Jaguars.
Jaguars, of course. There's also this creature. I don't know what's the name on English, but we call it Danta. She's like, go ahead and Google it so you can maybe describe it. But she's a big old, like a bear looking like creature with no long hair, and her nose is going to be long, like
Taper.
It's like a taper.
a taper. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Taper.
There's those all over the place.
All over the place?
No, let me take that back. Not all over. On the south of the country.
There's
Wow.
tapers.
Yes, tapers with
Okay.
jaguars. Usually.
Have
down
you ever
there
seen a
together.
jaguar?
Yes.
Have you really?
Yes, down there on the south. It's called Corcovado.
I mean, not in a zoo.
no,
or
not in a
something.
cage. Yeah, on the wild. Yeah.
Well, tell me about. I mean, like, how do you see a jaguar?
Well-
what? How did you see the one you saw?
That's on the national park. It's a reservation. So it's crazy, but the wildlife is used to the people, like not messing with them. So as long as you don't do any kind of like a stupid subtle movements, they're gonna behave natural, and they're not gonna come up to you, right? But they're gonna keep a fair distance. That time I remember we were walking towards the beach, because we were gonna do some snook fishing right there on the shallows, like on the sandbanks, and my buddy screamed jaguar, and when we look up, he was on the go. Like he was moving away from us, maybe about 70 yards. He probably saw us walking to him, and
7 yards.
70.
Oh, 7.
Oh no, 7 yards. No, then
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
And he was on the go, and even though that he was that far away, man, the presence of those cats like that being that big, especially like mountain lions. Yeah, I know there's some mountain lions as well, not as many.
Puma
Yes,
color.
pumas,
Yeah.
and those are gonna be, I guess, like the Florida panther.
Yeah, I think the what we call the mountain lion here,
Yeah.
Puma color, it's the same cat that is. Now there's different subspecies, but it's the same cat that's like in Montana that would be down in Central America, as I understand it.
Yeah,
Now, it may
it's-
be different subspecies.
It's the
But-
same, but the genes are gonna be a little bit different. It's just like the whitetails from the
Yeah,
south
It's just
versus
gonna
the one
look
in the
different.
Midwest. Just a little bit smaller, just the same overall stuff.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a black jaguar?
On pictures, never on person.
Now, I've noticed that there appears to be a jaguar tattoo on your hand.
A puma, yeah.
That's a puma.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Let's
Really?
see.
Now, what's
That's
the
a-
significance of that?
Nothing. I just like.
It's a
You
good
just liked
looking,
it?
good looking puma.
Yeah.
It's a good artist there.
Yeah, I got that puma. Man, I got like a bunch of North American and American kind of like animals. So I got a puma. I got a deer right here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What else do I got?
Is it like a big buck?
Yeah.
I mean, can you pull your arm? Your
Oh,
shirt?
oh,
Let's
and
see.
you're gonna like that one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a
So
on
it's a
his-
bison.
on his forearm. There's a
Yeah.
bison.
So there's a bison. There's a
grizzly.
bear, and then there's that buck right there.
Oh, look at that
Wow.
sucker.
Red-tailed hawk somewhere in there.
Holy smokes.
Now, okay,
And
I
it
see.
just keeps
Pull,
going on.
let me see that buck again.
Like
Pull
that.
it, pull your shirt up a little bit more. Okay, now the tattoo artist that did this, I noticed there's a forked G2.
Yeah.
I'd say that's an unusual characteristic for a whitetail.
I know. And,
Did you request the forked G2?
No, I was like, that looks like a mule deer. But I mean, here's the thing.
Did you want it to be a whitetail?
No, hold
It
on.
looks like a whitetail.
Yeah, but let me explain.
I think
Let me
there's
explain.
I think there's a story here.
Yeah, let me explain. Everything that I have is hand drawn. Like I usually request my buddy Matt Shiflett. That's his name. I know him for several years, 10 plus since I came to the States. And every time I'm like, Matt, what if we do like a puma? So he will sit down.
So was all that done at separate times?
Yes.
Okay.
And then he will draw by hand out of his mind.
Wow.
Right?
Like, will he like sketch it on your arm and
Well-
pen or something?
Depends. Yeah. Sometimes he will do it on his tablet, get it all done. Or sometimes he will do it directly on my skin. Right?
Mm.
Depending on what's his forte. Anyways, on this case, I said, Matt, I want to do like a buck. He said, what are you talking about? And I said, just a big buck. He's like a white-tailed deer. And I said, yeah. So
Now, is this guy just an Alabama dude, or is he
yes,
from
but
somewhere else?
he's an Alabama dude, but he's a non-hunter. And he doesn't go outside as much as we do, right? So here's the thing. He's like, hey, I looked some reference points and a few pictures of deer, not whitetail or nothing. This is what I came with. And I look at it and I said, that's a mule deer. But we're here right now. I'm not going to tell him nothing.
Oh,
No, I said, Matt, just put it in there. You good? He said, oh, you like it? And I said, yeah, put it up there. So just like that, you know?
so it is a mule deer.
Yeah.
Okay, but you didn't need a whitetail though.
It don't matter. It could be a
It's
whitetail
up
for
to
me.
interpretation.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
He can't see it with his eyes because it's on the back of his
now,
arm.
Pablo, I think that you've got the right to be like pretty picky about which reference drawing they make if they're
Yeah.
doing a tattoo on your arm.
But on the throughout the years, the relationship that it goes past client tattoo artist and it just becomes a friendship, right? It becomes a
so
friendship.
life
like-
lessons with Pablo.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is this would this be like a okay? I mean, I'm not seeing it, but
I would've
that you
told
would
him-
trust you just like I mean, were you gonna hurt his feelings?
No, but it was like going through the process of like, he has to draw it again.
Yeah.
So I said,
You didn't want to inconvenience him.
no, I said, just put it up there. I gotta go. You know?
I'd
So-
hate for the guy to spend an extra 30 minutes on it now.
I'd be like, that's double G2. It's all good. It's,
Fork G2, baby.
Yeah, I said,
No, I like it.
super fun.
If it's a whitetail, I'm a sucker
Mm-hmm.
for a fork G2.
He's
Yeah.
an incredible artist. I mean,
Yeah,
that's-
he does
yeah.
pretty good.
Hey, you got a bison on there? Have you ever read Steve Rinella's American Buffalo book? If you're looking for a good book to read, you ought to read that.
Does he has that one on Audible?
Yep.
Yeah.
that's
Oh
gonna
yeah.
be-
It's on Audible.
I wanna see it.
It's truly one of my. I mean, it would have to be in the top books.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because we like
He
Steve.
signed your check.
Yeah. Well,
Whoa.
He does
He
not.
doesn't.
Thank goodness he does not.
Yeah.
But it's a good book.
Yeah, definitely. I want to say like I'm almost 100%. I got that book on the playlist on Audible.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it has to. I will show you because I know it's gonna be like, oh yeah, right after we told him, suddenly he got. No, I will show y'all later on.
Yeah, I'm gonna
But
need to see that.
It has to be like, yeah, no, I swear, man.
No, I believe you.
I do.
I believe you.
It was him or somebody else. But now I'm. Hold on a second. Hold up. Let's just go ahead and let's keep it rolling.
We believe you.
Yeah. No, I will pull out that phone later on. And Steve Ranella, if you're watching this, I'm gonna prove. I'm gonna prove this. You know.
Well, you know the coolest thing about your story that I learned on the Southern Outdoorsman
Outdoorsman,
podcast, and what we heard on Bear Grease, was that it's really cool how you got into hunting, and if you hadn't listened to it, you got to go back and listen to it. But I mean, when he just started from like zero when he got here, and you're like becoming a really good hunter, whitetail hunter.
Man, I wouldn't say like a really good. I will say more like a very persistent and stubborn hunter. You know, that keep making the same mistakes 2 to 3 times until I learn from them. Right? It's like no, it wasn't me. No, it wasn't me. And then it's like, okay, it was me. It's time to make a change. But yeah, like I said, the progression has been steady, slow, but step by step. But it's been steady. And I was talking with Clay about this, that everybody wants to go and kill a 150.
Mm-hmm.
We all do, right? But in my case, man, I started from like not knowing how to hunt these creatures to where I'm at now. So I've been following a process that it has to be respected, because I feel that if I rush it, I'm going to take away all the fun and all the joy that I have now. If I kill a 150, thank you, God. It will be amazing. But if I don't, it's not going to take the sleep away from me, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm not going to be passing on the small bugs that I shouldn't be passing, because I'm waiting on that 150. And the only thing that I'm going to be thinking of is a different level. And I respect that position from the guys that live that kind of like a hunting life. But in my case, my particular case, Pablo's life, is a process, and that process, it just takes time, and it cannot be rushed.
Yeah,
like it's just what it is. I'm being honest. I'm not ashamed to say, like, man, if I'm hunting and sometimes it's a bad day to be a spike, just like that. It happens. Yeah, it happens. Like, it happens. Like last year, it was the best year ever. Killed the biggest buck that I ever killed in Alabama. Kill a buck on this particular WMA. I've been hunting 7 years in that area without being able to kill a legal buck. Everything is within less than a week time frame. And then the fifth day of consecutive hunting, a cow horn looking like a spy comes up, and I was like, boom!
Season over.
Yes. And everybody's like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, what do you mean? This is a huge accomplishment. They're like, how big is the spike? And I was like, it's like a foot long. No, it was a good one. Yeah,
it's always funny how people talk about it was a big spike. It's like as if the 2 spikes walked up and one had 3-inch horns and one had 4.
No,
you shoot the 4.
This one is a good one. Yeah, this one is a good, like, cow horn looking like spike.
Oh yeah, I can't get enough cow horn spike.
So I was like, what a better way to do it than going back to basics and pull the trigger on the spike, burn a tag, and be done in Alabama. And everybody's like, okay, so did you just graduated from the Spike Management University, or are you going to keep doing this? And I was like, I don't know. We will find out next season. So I went 2 weeks later to Mississippi and kill a buck. And, I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great year, man.
Yeah, killing the best buck on the state. Killing a buck on a WMA that took me 7 years to do that. Tagging out. It don't matter what do you tag out, but you tag out.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, killing an out-of-state buck. It doesn't get no better than that, right?
That's a big year.
It's a good year.
I've got a question for you. So because you came into specifically whitetail hunting, so fresh with such a clean slate, like you didn't have any cultural baggage, like anybody that's raised, I mean, almost in America. I mean, deer hunting is so big in America. I mean, unless you're just like from like the inner city and your family's been there for like generations, there's a good chance that you have some connection to hunting. Maybe it's your grandfather, maybe it's your uncle, your cousins, like somebody is a hunter way back. And you come with this baggage of the way that you're supposed to hunt. Like whether it's bow hunting or whether it's doing drives or whether it's hunting with deer dogs like it is down here in some places, whether it's bow hunt, whatever. I think that in today's like oversaturated whitetail world that's so commercialized, and it just is. I mean, the company I work for, we try to sell hunting products. I mean, that's kind of what makes the thing go round. I don't feel bad about that. But also in like the media space in general, it's like we need things to talk about. And so it's almost like hunting gets more and more complex. Like if you were just starting from scratch, like when my dad started hunting back in the 1970s, I mean, it's like you needed a bow and a flannel shirt, and maybe a Baker tree stand that you could climb up and probably die. Those things, they call them widow makers, But today you might get the idea that you got to know about all this different stuff. You're an interesting case study because you do know, I mean, you know a lot of information. You've just been a sponge and learned about thermals and learned about feed trees and learned about funnels. And like, he's a student of deer hunting, And so here's my question.
Go ahead.
All that to say, what really are the limiting factors of killing a deer where you hunt? Okay? Because it could be somebody might come into hunting and think it's camouflage pattern, which we all know is not true. But what do you think the limiting factors of killing deer?
Based on what I believe, personally, pressure. I believe pressure is a big thing. Also, on this particular WMA.
Tell me what you mean by that. Like, interpret that. Like
hunters per square mile.
So for you to be successful, you go where there's not pressure.
Yes. Also, on this area where I hunt, the deer population is very low. The habitat is pretty it's pretty much the same block.
Like a monoculture.
Yes. So there's different areas where I can move and go and kill a deer, right? It might not be the greatest, but it's going to be a deer. And I could be pretty successful about that. But once again, there's going to be things such as pressure. To me, that's the biggest thing in Alabama.
So what when you say that to me, I hear you say, if I was telling a new hunter what to do, I would say go find a place that doesn't have a lot of people hunting, and you could not have knowledge and kind of not know what you're doing, but maybe still kill a deer because they're unpressured.
No. Now here's the thing. That's kind of like a different question. I'm gonna answer in a different way, but I think to me, my blessing, because it was a blessing, was that I learned from old school guys that didn't have social media. Shoot, man, they had paper maps. That was the way for them to scout the areas and all that stuff. So that was my principle. That was the foundation of where I'm at right now. Everything else, I done picked it up throughout the seasons, and you learn a little bit more about this and about that. If somebody asked me right now, based on what I know, I'd be like, okay, the best way to try to seal the deal is to figure out when is the rut. When the rut is on the peak. So you're going to find them cruisers. And go ahead and put yourself nearby a creek crossing or a bluff gap.
Okay.
That's what I would choose. Like 100%, especially with the rut.
So understanding like when the peak times are, so and then understanding topography.
Yeah, so that way you're going to get the most daylight movements and the most exposure, because love is in the air and they be goofing around and they expose themselves in ways that they never do.
Yeah.
I've been winded before but bugs, there's like, man, it's crazy, but I have got encounters with big deer. Last season, I bumped a monster, and I called my buddy Daniel Williams, and I said, Daniel, I just bumped a monster. It's like 2:30 in the evening. What do I do? He's like, oh, don't worry, you're gonna do this. You're fixing to kill him. And I was like, no, like he's gone. He was like, no, do this. You're fixing to kill him. And I didn't listen to him, and I think that I should have done it. And I might have killed him, But I was like, no, hold on. I'm going to try to do this. What he was recommending me was like trying to circle hook that buck. But I just couldn't avoid it. And I did the opposite. And just kind of like straight up chase him, climb a tree. And I was like, he's going to come back. And I bet you he went around. But he was a monster. Bedded on the wide open.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is I stopped and look at a tree. I came out of the thicket, stopped, looking at a tree, and I said, this is a really good transition area. This is the climber, and the trail comes right here. Yeah, I like it. And I did one step, and he bumped it about 20 yards.
Oh,
bedded.
so you were right.
Yeah, I was right there, but he was
right
already there. Yeah, so.
I used to think about bow hunting. If somebody would have seen me killing deer and would have been like, "Oh man, you're a good hunter," I would have said, "I don't know. I don't really think I'm a good hunter. I think I just go a lot and I'm really persistent."
Yeah.
So what I saw people do is like learn a lot about hunting, and this is kind of a fictitious scenario, but like learn a lot about hunting, try to find the right time. Like basically find the right scenario, and then they would go and not be successful. And maybe they even knew more about what was happening than me. But I just went more, stayed longer.
Yeah.
And ended up killing deer. And in the process of that, you learn a lot. I mean, so I think the thing that I would say to people is just go.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
go climb up in a tree and sit there.
Or on the ground.
And when you don't see deer, you're going to learn something. You're going to go somewhere else. When you do see deer, you're going to be validated, and you're going to watch how they use the terrain, watch what they're feeding on, watch the direction they come. When you get winded, you're going to learn, oh, dang, I need to be on that side of the funnel, and the thermals are going to suck my wind down into that draw. I mean, like you just learn so much about being there. But as opposed to, and I guess I'm kind of combating what you and I talked about earlier today about how complex sometimes.
Yeah.
Like the longer we do this whitetail hunting thing, the more fine-tuned it becomes, and kind of the more complicated it becomes in a way.
And it's so many technicalities and things that it seems like we're speaking about like outer space kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it just takes the whole the fun away.
What's the last whitetail podcast you listened to, Miss Newcomb?
When was the last time you did a Deer Stories podcast?
Does that count? You know what's
Does
up.
Does that count?
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask if you felt the same way.
Well, I was thinking it kind of reminds me, Shep, our son Shep always talks about luck favors the people who show up, who are there. And if sometimes he'll hear you and Bear talking about whether you should go or not. And if you don't, he's like, oh man, they might have missed their lucky day.
It should have just gone.
Powerful quote.
Yeah.
Luck favors the ones that show up.
Yeah.
That is so truth.
Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. No segue into this. Pablo told me a quote earlier today that I was like, hey, that's really good. About nostalgia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Because, here's the thing. I was talking with Clay, and I said a lot of times I get very nostalgic when I think
talking about Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I get very nostalgic, and it happens. But I said nostalgia is the greatest liar that there is, right?
That's a good quote.
and that's because it will bring you back to these really cool moments and great memories while hiding the real reason why something ended or something was done for good, right?
That's good.
That's good, isn't it?
That's really good. That's really good.
So what I get is all these reels of high moments of my childhood, pretty much in my teenager years, which I had the greatest childhood ever, man. Like you can try to put in context like, oh, there were some limitations or whatever. Well, I never felt them. You know,
Yeah.
I was a happy kid with what we had.
Right.
And the greatest thing, we didn't have internet and we didn't have cell phones. That was the two greatest things ever, you know. So we grew up, everybody in the neighborhood, in my area, pretty much like that, like
Yeah.
wide open on the woods, you know. So you cannot be asking for anything better than that. But I get nostalgic. It's normal. And especially when I think about fishing. I'm like, oh my God, man. And oh my God, you know, 45 minutes away from the ocean
Yeah.
or something like that. And then you start recalling, okay, what was the reasons why we left and or what do we move for
Yeah.
and this and that. And then you start realizing like, oh yeah, that's why, you know, so yeah, you got to be careful when you get nostalgic because you
Yeah.
can be impulsive.
Okay, tying this back into deer hunting.
Yeah.
Have you deer hunted long enough for you to be nostalgic about deer hunting?
Yes, absolutely. About a place in a specific.
Yeah.
This area where I used to be, the one that I took that shot on that big deer. I don't want to get into a lot of detail of the place because I will give it up. But the place it's no longer available.
Mm.
And that was my honey hole. And I hunted it hard, man. Every moment, every day that I had. I was on the same tree, the same sweet gum about this big. Because it was the only one that you could
Right.
climb in that swamp. And now I go by the place, even though that it's not huntable, you can go by. And man, sometimes I just kind of like I stay right there and I'm like, man, I wish that I could hunt this place back again. And even though this nostalgia is like legit, like there's not such a bad reason for it. Like it was out
Think
of my
about
control.
all the days you sat there and didn't see anything, though, Pablo.
Yeah, but how
Just
much I
kidding.
learned and how much I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Because there was so much wildlife in those swamps, which it was incredible, man. I got to see otters, I got to see beavers, all kinds of ducks, coons, bobcats. It just walking by me, minding their business, and as quiet that you can stay, the more you're gonna learn. You know, I learned that with deer as well. The first time I seen a doe with triplets, that doesn't happen very often, but it happens. Well, it might happen as more often than what I think, but the fawns were like literally underneath me, and I was like hugging the tree, like please go away. And they're doing their thing, and Mama was like 40 yards away, ears wide open, scanning. She knew something was off, but she couldn't figure it out. So I was listening so carefully because there were so many vocalizations going on between and back and forth that it was just an amazing experience, man. And they ended up just walking away. But I was like, these are the days that really make the difference when you learn and experience a little bit
Yeah.
better, you know, behaviors or things like that. But yeah, that place right there. And there's also the one that they got away, the one that could never recover. You seen that buck?
Yeah.
He was a good one too. I'll show it to you later. But he was a good one. And then what else? Like seriously, that I get.
Be thinking of a question you might have for him. Anything. Josh, you too. Do you have any questions?
Well, I just I enjoyed listening to your story for the podcast, and I think your passion for the outdoors surfaced when you were so little, and I admire your passion when you got to the United States of learning that you could hunt and does that. I guess my thing is like, what has that done to you? Has it filled you with more passion? Are you still just as excited about it today as you were then?
I'm actually.
Have you like has that branched out into other areas of hunting?
Yeah, it's well. To start the question, it's like I'm actually hungrier than what it was before, and the reason for that is because now I understand what I'm doing, and now I can actually understand why am I doing the things. So it has driven me like crazier than what it was before, right? Because it's like, okay, now I have no excuses. Before I could have the excuse of inexperience, this and that, like that. Like now there's none. Like now I'm I should be good to go. And yes, absolutely, man. I was this close to be turkey hunting today.
Oh,
because
yeah?
I never done it before.
He turned down a turkey hunt to
Oh.
come.
With
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Jamie McKay in Alabama, he was like, "We're gonna go turkey hunting." And I was like, "Mr. Jamie, I can't. I gotta go with Clay." I said, "We wait until." I said, "We wait for next year," because I never done it before. He was like,
Uh-huh.
"Go on," So, want to do some turkey hunting? Of course, fishing all the time, deer hunting, and man, everybody. I mean, I don't know somebody that doesn't say like elk hunting or any other game like that. Yes, I would love to venture into that, but I guess that's gonna come with time when the time is right, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I'm more passionate than before because now I understand
Yeah.
what am I actually looking for.
Man, you've had some incredible mentors. All the guys that
Yeah.
you've mentioned. I mean,
Yeah.
that when I heard his story, that was the thing that stood out to me is that all the people that just brought him into kind of their inner circle, and it's honestly a testament to them, but it's also a testament to you. I mean, sometimes I think people talk about maybe not being able to find mentors, and really a lot of times the finger should be pointed back at
Yeah.
the person that they're not reaching out to the right people, or they're not respecting. I mean, I don't know. It
Let
can
me-
be hard to break into.
Let me tell you how this started. Well, first and foremost, Mr. Tony, right? But then I spoke with Josh about this. Friend of mine, Parker McDonald, he has a
Yeah.
YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
So years ago, it was called Southern Ground Hunting.
Right.
Now it's Southern Collective. Anyways, he put up there on social media. I'm looking for an interim for Southern Ground Hunting. So I emailed him and I said, I have no experience with a camera. I don't know anything about electronics. I do not own a computer. I'm technologically slow, but I have a good attitude. And if you put a camera on my hands, I would love to go out there with you. I said, here goes nothing. And I sent the email, right? Little did I know he texted me back. Well, he emails me back. Hey, this is my phone number. Give me a text. I was like, do what? Well, Mr. Tony, don't talk to Mr. Michael. Mr. Michael saw Parker somewhere and talked to Parker about me. Parker's like, hey, Michael talked to me about you. Do you want to meet in this place? And we talk about it. We talk a little bit and we became friends. And next thing you know, I was out there hunting with Parker. There was no interim spot. I was just with him. He started teaching me as well while he believed it was the best approach for me, while being double checked with Mr. Tony, Mr. Jamie, Mr. Michael McKay. And then Daniel Williams came along the road and he's like, okay, now you're jumping on this truck and we're fixing to move along. And this is when you're gonna start learning about topographies and learn about this.
Wow, this is like a class.
It's
like
exactly
a college
everybody.
class.
This is the best of the best. Everybody has a very strong, like a subject
Yeah.
to each
like a
other.
strength.
Yes, that everybody like Mr. Michael bluff gaps and creek crossings. Mr. Tony Myers feed trees.
Feed trees.
Yes, he killed a state record on a feed tree.
Wow.
Mr. Michael killed the muzzle loader state record not long ago, like a 198. The one who said yeah.
Really?
And after that, the place looked like a pumpkin patch. Like opening there, yeah, nothing but orange.
Orange.
Yeah, it was just an awful. I was like, yeah, it's over with. But something I have learned is that the pressure goes up, and then the next year it will kind of like a dive down. Then a couple of years we'll go back up. Anyways, Parker is all about axis. How you access.
Right. He's using kayaks and stuff.
Yeah, Mr. Jamie is about travel corridors. Like, where do you find them cruising? So I've been picking the best out of the best, man. And I got a feeling that this will pay. Sooner or later will pay off. And if it doesn't, it don't matter because I have got the greatest time ever with these guys. And just being able to learn from them is a luxury. Like, what a luxury do I have to mention that? Oh, yeah, I've been scouting with.
Well, you know what? I
guy.
tell you, I guarantee you that you are, well, just from being around you today, you're a great listener. It's fun to teach somebody that's passionate.
Yeah.
It's fun to teach somebody that's appreciative. It's fun to teach somebody that is taking what you teach them and doing it
Yeah.
and actually. I mean, so my point being, those guys are incredible. A hat tip to every one of those guys. You're doing some stuff right too.
Yeah.
I mean, just in the fact that you could gain these guys' trust, and because that's the biggest thing. I mean, it's like, kind of like throw your pearls before the swine. I mean, it's like, if I'm going to invest in somebody, I want to know that it's going to be there's going to be a return on that investment, like in their life, because we all have invested in somebody that kind of squandered what you gave them, and you kind of learn from that. And you're like, well, I'm not going to invest my time in that anymore. But
my thing, I would say, the biggest thing for me was that you have to be aware that these people's time is very valuable. And the experience that they have gained throughout the years is priceless. Like, seriously, man, they have spent years of their life up in that mountain chasing these creatures. And suddenly, if you're here for a free ride, that's going to throw you off the door right away. Like, you see what I'm saying? What I want to learn is how you do what you do, not where you go to do what you do. So I don't know. I guess it's the will, your attitude, perseverance. How good you're gonna be able to face the challenges that they throw it at you. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just a blessing overall. That's what it is.
Yeah.
The good Lord looking over, and there ain't nothing you can do about that, right? So it was good. So.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a question, Ms.
Well, actually,
Newcomb?
my question was, how did he get his mentors?
Oh, yeah.
That was actually what I was curious about. I haven't listened. I haven't heard the whole story yet.
Right.
And so it's kind of hard because I actually have a lot of questions, but I feel like it would be repetitive. They're probably answered in the.
Yeah.
Like,
some
how did
of
you?
them probably
How
are.
did you get
Well,
here?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He said, how'd you get here? It's like, it cannot be this close. Just kidding. Just kidding. So, real quick, met this gentleman. I was doing some work outside of his house. They took me on the backside. My stepdad did. Well, he had giants, state records, and all that stuff. Everything from public land. I was like, oh my God, got his name. Few years went by. I'm striking with no luck on public land 3 years without seeing a deer. 3 seasons hunting, no deer. I'm desperate, and I spoke with my stepdad and said, do you remember that gentleman? He said, yeah. Is this his house? He's like, I don't know. I said, does he still lives in there? He's like, I don't know. So I said, all right, something is going to happen. I'm going to get shot or I'm going to find Mr. Tony. But something
They
is
were
going to
doing concrete work at this guy's house, the stranger's house, saw his trophy room, and then a year later, he goes back an hour away.
It was more 3.
3 years later.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yes, 3 years later, I went back to Mr. Tony's. Anyways, I said, something's going to happen. I'm going to get shot or I'm going to find him. I saw the I was like, that's it. That's the one. Knock on the front door, nothing. And I said, here we go. You just got to roll the dice. And I walk on the back, like on the back of the house.
Oh, wow.
If you knock on my back door, you're getting shot.
Yes, and I knocked there. Miss Donna came out, and she's super sweet and kind with me. She says, can I help you? I was like, hello, it's me.
Very safe.
Yeah. I said, don't let the stereotypes guiding you to this because I'm fixing to get shot. I said, I have an accent and a bunch of tattoos. It's not what it looks like. Right? I was like, it's not what it looks like. Just bear with me. Let me explain myself, please. And I said, Mr. Tony home. She was like, no, he's hunting. I said, I'll be back. And so I came back that evening. I said, Mr. Tony. He was like, hey, buddy, I remember you.
Okay.
Just like that.
Okay.
And
That's how it started.
Wow.
And then he took me under his wing. He's getting closer to retirement. He's a legend, man. And then he's like, I'm gonna talk to some of the guys from the same generation, so they can kind of like still helping you a little bit and all that. And that's how the ball went down.
Wow.
Eventually, all the way, like I said, Mr. Tony, Mr. Jamie, Mr. Michael, Daniel Williams, Parker McDonald, Nick Brannon, Brian Prosser. That dude, man, that guy, Brian Prosser, he's like, this is the crazy thing on public land. He's able to pinpoint a specific individual and do a lot of effective prayer that buck is gonna live until he's like 4 years old. Even knowing that he's been shot since he's like 6 months old, he's like, God, please don't let him get killed this season. And somehow,
So this guy's praying for a specific deer.
yes, somehow these deer end up being like on the 120s, 130s. Next thing you know, they jump from that to like an upper 140s.
Wow.
On public, on the same place.
And then he prays that they die.
And he does that. He kills them all the time. Like last time that I was with him, he texts me, hey, I'm going tomorrow. And I was like, good luck. It's the only day that I got to go. He was chasing a giant 154 8-point, double brow tine. So, text me about 7:30. He's down, and I was like, "There's no way." I go in there retrieving that bug with him. My goodness, man! Talking about popcorn, all kinds of stuff. I'll show you a picture later. The deer came in, and the deer saw him drawing back on his bow. So he said the buck stopped and turns, looking at him like that. And right when he's about to go, he releases. So the arrow goes through the deer nose, out in the jaw, into the neck area. And he clipped an artery.
Wow.
And he was able to kill him. On the picture, you see like a cross right here on his nose. And then where it was. But yeah, every year he does that. And he's one of the guys, like I said, everybody else. Actually, my buddy Nick, I was with him last season. And we're hunting on this area where I see the triplets. I heard first thing in the morning. I said, man, he got one. Up top of that ridge, we have reception. And Nick is like, hey, man, I shot a big old pig. I'm going to go retrieve him. And then, we go. And I said, cool. Well, I didn't hear anything else. And like 3 hours later, I see Nick limping really bad, heading my way. And I was like, what happened? He said, man, that dang pig, he wasn't dead. And he wrote me up. Yeah, like the pig was inside of a thicket. So Nick goes into the thickets looking for him because the pig was wounded, like really bad.
Right.
He thought that he was done. And as soon as he got to him, the pig just jumped and he charged at him.
Oh, no.
Luckily, didn't hit him with the tusk, but he hit him good enough on the leg that he was like he was in a bind, and he was about a mile away from where I was. So to me, it was no way to tell that he would have been hurt,
Right.
So I said, okay. Next day I go in, and they're in there at night. So I pull up my phone and start recording because they're squealing like really hard, and I got a green light. Next thing you know, one of them is charging at me. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning, so I just jump in a tree and hail like that, and I was like, wait until the sunlight comes up because we're fixing to settle this down, So I climbed that tree, sunlight came up, took a shot. Surprisingly, I missed.
Oh, the pigs were still there.
Yeah, no, they didn't go nowhere. Apparently, I'm not the greatest shooter, which I thought I was, but I am not. And I hit him. I know I hit him, but I didn't hit him right. And then I start chasing and running behind it and just shooting lead like crazy. I bet you everybody in that management area was like, what's going on in that holler? Boom! Boom! Couple more steps. Man, yeah, it didn't recover.
Wow.
Just to make it short. Yeah, it didn't recover.
Just to make it short.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. It happened. Here's the thing with my rifle. It was a gift. First gun that I ever owned in my life. Remington 77 3006. My stepdad and my mom purchased that gun for me. There you go. You have a gun, you have a rifle. Never had one before in my life. So
Because in Costa Rica, you really couldn't have a gun.
and calibers like that, I don't really,
Yeah.
I don't really think that they even provide those things. I know pistols, yeah, but like hunting like that, calibers like that, no.
Yeah.
Well, apparently you got to sight the thing. I had no clue. I just went hunting. And I
So it had a scope on it.
yeah, and I just went hunting, and then
Never sighted it in.
no, years ago, about 3 years ago, Daniel asked me because I shot and I missed. Man, here's the thing, it was a mistake, but it's the middle of the rut, right? There's a big scrape, and I was like, oh, right here, it's hot. Climb up a tree, and about, I don't know, 2 hours later, 5 does, man, come in, and I was like, doe, boom, and she hunched over, and I was like, yes, got a deer. So I text Daniel, and I said, I just shot a doe. He's like, what are you doing? It's the rut. Why are you shooting does? And I was like, dang it, man. He's actually right. You know? I say, God almighty. Well, I mean, it's all right. Next thing I know, she stands up. And I was like, oh, no. And, well, I guess the adrenaline, man, I ended up sending 12 shots. Like, I run out of ammo. Like, boom, boom, and reloading 4 more. And, well, man, I got down and went up there closer to the scrape where I shot her, looking for blood. And I turned my headlamp, and there's a buck literally on the scrape looking at me. And I was like, of course, you show up now. It's dark. I ain't got no ammo. You know, and I said, "This, well, I didn't find it though. You know, like she was gone. Like she just gone. I bet she wasn't even mortally wounded. But anyways, then he was like, when was the last time you sighted your deer? And I said, what do you mean? He's like, when it was last time you shot to a target? I said, do you mean like a deer? He was like, oh my God, no. Like, I said, I never done it.
Never sighted it in.
No. He's like, you got to be kidding me. He's like, when it was the last time you cleaned the rifle? And I said, what do you mean? Dude, when we look at the barrel, it looked like the entrance of a coal mine. I mean, seriously, he was blacked out. And then, like, you can see, like, the strips on the barrel. Then it was like, what? Which is crazy. Like, how good these things are, you know? Because with a bunch of neglection, they still functioning just perfectly. Now I clean it, you know, here and there. The only thing that I got to do is just get a scope, because the one that I have, well, apparently I didn't know that the price is correlated with how good the scope it is. And I was like, $99.99. I said, that sounds like a deal. Yeah. And if it's not like 1 o'clock in the evening, foolish, and you ain't going to see a thing through it, you know. So I was like,
That is fun.
So you never sighted the gun in?
After that, I did.
I mean, yeah.
And after that, I
did.
went to a range. And I was like, so he was like, yeah. Like, what's wrong with you? You know?
That's hilarious.
And that thing was way off. I wasn't 100 yards. I wasn't even hitting
oh my gosh.
the paper. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
that's funny.
And then, we start dialing in. And of course, that rifle don't hit the ground a few times with me, like more than a few times. I drop him from the tree, the same as I did with my bow. And he was loaded, and he fell with it stuck down on the mud and just stuck up like that. Oh. So I was rappelling myself on the other side of the tree, like, oh boy. Yeah. And I was able to get it off.
I wish some little guy had been floating around in the woods with a camera, videoing you with all these situations.
A lot of times I'm like, God, please don't let nobody be right here. Because for some reason, a lot of times I encounter things that normal people won't do. Like with the rattlesnakes. I have one. It's not that big. It's about that long, but it's not that wide. That's a big old girl.
Yeah.
Anyways, I seen it, and I was like, man, I got to take it home. Now, you got to keep in mind, I don't have a firearm. I have a machete and my walking stick, which is the bottom part of a surfing rod. So I'm about 1.5 miles from the truck. And I said, you know what? Let's roll the dice. Let's see what happens. And there's no cell phone reception too. So I said, let's just see what happens.
Not a good thing to start.
Yeah, and
not
this
a good
is
caveat for working with a snake.
This is the best way that I like to describe myself, as a hybrid, right? 50% Hispanic, 50% redneck. You know what I'm saying? It's just a hybrid. Just don't know what they're capable of.
It's a dangerous combination.
Yeah, you don't know what they're capable of. You don't see them all the time. So I was like, all right, let's go. And we start going. She immediately knew what was up. And she coiled up and got in the striking position. I whack her, pin it down, reach down, stretch her, step on the tail, pull down my machete. When I'm going to strike, she comes loose and it strike between my legs full force.
Oh,
So I jumped back and I was like, all right, let's go ahead and do this again. Then start running. She tries to flee, like take off. And when she did, I just reached down, which it was pretty stupid, and pull her from the tail. And as I pull her back, because she was going on the bluff, as I pull her back, she came back striking. Man, I swear her mouth went like this. Like in a slow-mo, full wide open.
wow.
And I was like, I'm fixing to get in trouble. Group myself back again, start going at it and whack her again, pin it down, pull it, step on it, pull my machete, boom, cut the head. And I was like, gotcha. Put it on my pack, continue with my day. Now, she's not rattling no more, but reptiles that will be moving throughout several hours. Made it home, and my wife is like, how'd it go? And I said, good, but something has been boogering me on my backpack. She said, what do you mean? I said, I don't know. I got something here. It's kind of weird. She's like, well, check it. Keep in mind, she's in the kitchen fixing lunch. And I just grabbed my pack and flip it upside down and let it open. And that thing fell on the floor and started moving. She was jumping this high, man.
Oh, that
It's
would be a bad
screaming.
move,
Yeah, that would be a
wouldn't
bad move. Not wise.
And and my dogs were like, whoa! They just took a run.
And he's got pit bulls.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. And she got so upset. And I was like, it was a joke. It was a joke. Like, I'm sorry. Ended up picking the snake out. She was like, get that thing out of the house. You get out of the house. No more lunch for you. And I was like, I apologize for my behavior. I said it was a bad joke. But yeah, she still don't enjoy that memory from that snake, So
Oh, that's funny. Well, hey, man, it's been great to meet you. Great to have you on the podcast. Really appreciate you coming up here.
man, I appreciate y'all. I seriously do. People like you guys are the reason why, most of us do what we do. Because y'all have the right approach. And that means a lot to me. So thank you so
man.
much. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for this opportunity.
Yeah, appreciate it, Pablo. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be hearing from you in the future. I want to
Appreciate
be
that.
getting some pictures of some big bucks.
Yeah, man.
We will see.
Yep.
We'll see how it's going to go. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
Yep. All right. Keep the wild places wild because that's where the bears live. You might find Pablo there.
You never know. Hey, just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. Yeah.